The light falls softly across the backs of the two men, leaving their faces half in shadow. The tension of their muscles suggests strength, pride, authority, yet the darkness creeping across their profiles reveals uncertainty, vulnerability, the fragile boundary between power and fear. The air around them feels suspended, as though the world is holding its breath. Time pauses at the edge of revelation. They stand together, rigid and silent, their bodies angled toward a presence emerging from the mist. One of them grips his sword, the blade resting downward, not in violence, but in hesitation. A silent anchor pressed into the earth, grounding him against the weight of the moment. His companion leans slightly forward, his shoulders tense, as if instinct and doubt are pulling him in opposite directions. Their cloaks fall heavy against their forms, catching the faint light, marking them as men who belong to the world of action, order, and will. Yet here, they are motionless. Here, they are only witnesses. From the darkness ahead, three pale figures drift into view. They do not step forward. They hover, suspended in the void, wrapped in ghost-like fabric that clings to their thin forms as if woven from fog itself. Their arms extend outward in a single, unified gesture, long and skeletal, pointing toward the men with a calmness that feels colder than hostility. Their faces are sharp, hollow, almost inhuman, emerging not as bodies but as symbols, as voices without sound, fate given shape. They appear neither hostile nor benevolent. They do not threaten, they announce. The space between the two men and the spectral figures stretches wide and empty, yet it feels heavy, saturated with something unseen. No landscape surrounds them, no horizon, no comfort of place or world, only void, endless, silent, indifferent, as if the encounter exists outside time, outside reality, inside a realm meant only for revelation and consequence. The light isolates them, carving the bodies of the men into solid form while allowing the figures ahead to dissolve into haze. Flesh and armor stand against vapor and destiny, strength against inevitability, life against something older and colder than death. The men do not move, they do not speak. Their faces remain turned toward the figures, but their expressions hover at the edge of fear. Not fear of violence, but of recognition. The recognition that the moment unfolding before them is not an intrusion from the outside world, but a mirror held up to something already alive within them. The stillness of the scene presses inward. You begin to feel it watching you back. The painting does not ask you to observe it. It draws you into its suspended breath, into the space between intention and surrender. Standing before it, you become part of the same tension, the same waiting, the same quiet terror of knowing that what approaches is not yet spoken, but already true. The longer you remain inside the scene, the more the silence begins to change. At first it feels empty, distant, a space carved between living men and ghostly figures. But slowly it tightens, presses inward, becomes something you can almost feel against the inside of your chest. The air no longer simply hangs, it listens. The figures ahead do not speak, yet the moment fills with a presence that feels like language without words, as if a sentence has already been spoken somewhere beyond hearing, and the two men are standing inside its echo. Their bodies do not move, but their fate does. It advances toward them in pale fabric and hollow faces, in the gesture of outstretched arms pointing forward with absolute certainty. There is no aggression in those gestures, no pleading, no emotion at all. And that absence is what makes them terrifying. What stands before the men is not threat, it is inevitability. Only now does the painting reveal itself by name. Macbeth and Banquo Meet the Witches by Henry Fuseli. A vision born from Shakespeare's story, but transformed through an artist who understood that fear does not always live in violence. Sometimes it lives in quiet revelation, in the moment when ambition hears its own future calling from the dark. Fuseli painted a world where the supernatural does not burst into reality, it bleeds into it. The figures of fate do not tear open the scene. They slide into it like something that has always been waiting beneath the surface. His own life carried shadows, restless imagination, dreams that unsettled him, an obsession with the psyche, the unknown, the inner world where emotion and terror blur. The witches become less characters than psychological forces, embodiments of temptation, prophecy, and the hunger for power that already sleeps within Macbeth before they ever speak. What unsettles the viewer is not the presence of the witches, it is the reaction of the men. They do not run, they do not attack, they do not dismiss what they see. Something inside them recognizes the message before it is even delivered. The body remains grounded, but the mind has already begun to follow the specters into darkness. This is the true violence of the scene, not bloodshed, not conflict, but the fracture of identity. The moment when a man realizes there exists within him a desire capable of transforming him, consuming him, breaking him open from the inside. The witches do not create ambition, they awaken it, and that awakening feels like a wound. The void surrounding the figures becomes symbolic of moral emptiness, a world stripped of distraction, where only choice remains. Macbeth stands not before spirits, but before himself. Banquo, beside him, becomes the silent witness to the moment when another human soul shifts its axis, when the line between destiny and desire blurs beyond repair. Power in this painting is fragile. It trembles beneath confidence. It stands tall in armor and strength, yet its core wavers at the faintest whisper of possibility. Time hovers above them like fog, neither moved forward nor turned back, holding the men in the unbearable instant before action, before corruption, before consequence. The scene becomes a meditation on guilt before guilt exists, on the knowledge that a future crime is already alive in thought, long before it is committed in flesh. Death does not appear on the canvas, but it is already present, carried silently inside prophecy, inside temptation, inside the look that passes between human intention and the echo that answers it from the dark. The painting does not close the story. It does not show what follows: the rise, the collapse, the ruin, the blood. It refuses narrative resolution. Instead, it traps you in the moment where everything has begun but nothing has yet happened, where the most dangerous transformation is still invisible, still internal, still silent. And when you finally step away from the image, the silence does not lift. It lingers, like something unfinished, something unresolved. The feeling that the true horror of the scene is not the supernatural figures at all, but the quiet, fragile space inside every human mind, where fate and desire meet and recognize one another in the dark. The painting leaves you there, suspended in that same breath, aware that some choices do not announce themselves in thunder or violence. Some choices arrive whispering from the shadows, and once you hear them, you can never return to who you were before.